So nearby Brad, you ready to talk about a tiger made of juice? Tiger.
What is this?
Something like that. We're going somewhere. Also, yeah, pre-orders for our new merch are now live. Check it out at the links below. But first, tiger.
Tiger.
Tiger. I'm going to open up this. Oh no, it's a. Oh no! Look, the joke everyone's going to make is going to be made. I'm going to open it with this Fiend branded bottle opener I got given by a fan like 2 years ago, which I've never used in a video. But do you know the gimmick of opening it with anything? I'm just tired of that. Can I move on, or is that just like part of my personality now?
You got to do it when people like if you get a what's it called? Cameo.
Yeah.
What's he doing that?
I had a TikTok where I did it, and I literally ran out of things in my house to do it with. Like, I ran out of stuff in my house that'd be impressive to open a beer with. Anyway, social media is littered with wannabe fitness gurus or gymfluencers, as they are known.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And pretty much all of them are full of shit because fitness is a sold game at this point. Something that can be partly credited to Jack LaLanne, a man so buff, even the products that bared his name could kick the fuck out of you. So, do you know about Jack LaLanne? We've talked about him very briefly in a... Actually, not briefly, we did an entire video on the guy.
Did we?
Yeah, it was a couple of years ago.
You're not dead yet, you pudgy little pisser.
Jack LaLanne?
Don't worry, I'll save you the Jack LaLanne way.
He was the guy who was like one of the very earliest pioneers of fitness culture, and he was the guy that doctors said don't listen to him. So we'll get to that in a moment. But Jack LaLanne was like a legendary fitness guru, like the original gymfluencer, and he is credited with popularizing or outright inventing parts of fitness culture that most people today think, well, that's obvious, right? That's just how it is.
Did he invent the peck dance?
He didn't invent the peck dance, but do you know what's named after him? I shit you not.
What did you say his name was?
Jack LaLanne.
LaLanne. Lane bowling.
Nope.
I don't know.
The jumping jack.
Oh, really?
The jumping. He didn't invent it, but it's named after him.
Right.
And things that he's credited with.
Didn't invent it. How do you invent the jumping jack?
To be fair, there are examples of people inventing exercises. I think it's like George Hackenschmidt. He invented the squat, I think it was. And there's someone has to be the first person to do it. It's like when I was in America, it's probably the exact opposite of fitness, but I went to Big Boy, Big Boy Burger. They apparently invented the double cheeseburger. And that's like, you think, well, how do you invent the double cheese? Like someone had to do it first, and apparently it was them.
Well, in terms of exercise though, nobody invents them. You more just discover the uses of them. It's like when people say Isaac Newton invented gravity. It's like, no, he didn't. He discovered gravity.
Discovered gravity, yeah. But things that Jack LaLanne invented, or at least, do you want to shut the window? You can just hear a kid outside being like, ah! I'm not sure it'll show up on the microphone, but we can hear it and it's very distracting.
That's not real crying. They're clearly getting attention.
Yeah.
It's the same noise repeatedly.
Mm-hmm. But, things that Jack LaLanne is credited with inventing or popularising in America include, as mentioned, the jumping jack, which now bears his name, which is how often he did it. The idea of lifting weights to exercise. That was something that was only previously done by bodybuilders. The idea of lifting weights, if you weren't specifically trying to become a bodybuilder, was alien around the time that Jack LaLanne introduced it. And here's where you're going to the face you're making now, but everyone, what people didn't think lifting weights got you fit.
He's just slapping his name on things.
No, he didn't slap his name, but he's the guy who said this is a good idea. So as an idea of how backwards the state of health and fitness was back then. He's the guy who convinced athletes that working out with weights was a good idea. Because prior to him, athletes would just endlessly practice the sport which they practiced and then do things like run laps to work on cardio. Jack LaLanne's the guy well, what do you do? I swing a baseball bat. Well, why don't you work on your arms so you get stronger arms so you can swing faster? And people called him an idiot for doing that. Why would that make a difference? And then you look today and it's of course, it's the most basic shit in the world when if you are doing a sport, you work out the muscles that help you perform that sport at the absolute peak.
Jack LaLanne is a man of many firsts. He opened the first health spa, got athletes to work out with weights, and encouraged women to hit the gym.
See, when you bring it in, that gets your waistline.
Even the jumping jack was named after him.
When was this?
Back in the 1930s, 1940s.
So before that, nobody who did any sports thought to themselves, let's do different exercises to increase this particular muscle.
Like I said, it was something that only really bodybuilders did, and bodybuilders were seen as this really niche thing. And it was like kind of like not taboo, but kind of looked down upon to be that physically fit. As we're about to discuss in regards to Jack LaLanne, like other things that he did was create the first health club. It's not a gym. Gyms existed. People have been lifting heavy weights and exercising for centuries, if not millennia. But he invented the idea of the health club, which was an all-in-one place you could go for general fitness.
I'll let him have that one.
Yeah, so it wasn't that you go in just to lift weights. That you go in you can run, or there's people there to teach you how to lift weights safely.
Was it called LaLanne?
It was not called LaLanne. It was called Jack LaLanne's Health Club, I think it was. And he also popularised the idea of women lifting weights, because prior to Jack LaLanne, doctors told women not to lift weights. Because prior to Jack LaLanne arriving on the scene, the belief was that women couldn't lift weights because they look like men. It's that's not really how it works for women, because they've just got different body types. And I think the way I've heard it put is if women just work out with weight, unless they're specifically trying to build certain muscle groups, they're always going to retain the classic feminine silhouette, because that's just how the body looks.
I thought you were going to say that the doctors were telling women not to lift weights because it might be bad for them, because
they also
they're not built for it, rather than just you'll look like a man.
So, and that's just run-of-the-mill sexism, which unfortunately continues to this day. And there are a couple of examples of that really hilarious. You actually look at the women who are being accused of looking manly, quote unquote, which I don't like saying it, but we have to quote these douchebags. It's Serena Williams was one. I just remember the top response to that of if Serena Williams looks like a man, I'm gay. It's just, but just so misogynist is going to misogynist. But other things that doctors said was lifting weights would be really bad for you because it would cause hemorrhoids. And Jack LaLanne was really pissed off at that, because exercise is the exact opposite of the thing that gives you hemorrhoids, which is sitting still. And keep in mind, this is the era when doctors advise people to smoke in adverts.
Time out for many men of medicine usually means just long enough to enjoy a cigarette. And because they know what a pleasure it is to smoke a mild, good-tasting cigarette, they're particular about the brand they choose. In a repeated national survey, doctors in all branches of medicine, doctors in all parts of the country were asked, "What cigarette do you smoke, doctor?" Once again, the brand named most was Camel. Yes, according to this repeated nationwide survey, more doctors smoke Camels than any other cigarette.
Yeah, there were a lot of bad bits of advice back in the day, weren't there?
Yeah, telling women to smoke should have smaller babies and they'd be easy to give birth to. That's a real thing that happened, by the way.
No!
All those cigarettes that were advertised having asbestos filters, which were better for you.
Babies born from women who smoke are smaller, but they're just as healthy as the babies born from women who do not smoke.
What about the higher
And
rate
some
of
women
deaths?
would prefer having smaller babies.
This micronite filter gives you high filtration. High filtration to help you keep your smoking moderate.
Do you remember they used to sell, oh God, it was the 1920s or 30s, there was a board game that used to be sold with plutonium in it.
And now imagine how infuriating it must have been for Jack LaLanne to live in an era like that, when his advice was basically boiled down: eat right, exercise, do a bit of cardio every now and again.
Why haven't we attached your name to any of the stuff that we've quote unquote invented?
Because no one wants to do the Smallwood method. But trust me, I've asked many girls and none of them have said yes. The Smallwood method doesn't actually sound something people want to do. And Jack LaLanne doesn't really have many things named after him except for his products, which we'll talk about in a moment. But we just need to talk more about the shit that he had to deal with back then. Because in addition to just people saying, well, no, don't listen to this huge buff man. Exercise is bad for you. He had to repeatedly deal with people saying that you just don't know what you're talking about. And keep in mind, do you want to Google Jack LaLanne on your phone?
All right.
I'll show you a picture of him, but I have to turn I can turn my monitor around. Let's do that.
Isn't it easier for me to just type it on my phone?
It's easy to type. Yes, type in Jack LaLanne and look at all the pictures that come up. And keep in mind, people were doctors were telling people not to listen to that guy's advice in regards to health and fitness.
I like how I type in Jack LaLanne, and the second one is Jack LaLanne Juicer, Power Juicer UK.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's have a quick look at Jack LaLanne. So you've seen how buff he is, yeah?
Oh, he's really buff.
Doctors were telling people not to listen to him. And just as an idea of how bad Jack LaLanne's advice was, he lived to about 96, and on his 70th birthday swam a mile underwater, pulling 70 boats. Yeah.
What?
He had 70 rowboats with 70 people in them, and he swam a mile underwater, pulling them with his legs while he was shackled, wearing diving equipment.
At the age of 70, he towed 70 boats with 70 people for a mile and a half, again handcuffed and shackled.
Which is where that Simpsons jokes, if people have maybe heard the name before, there's a Simpsons joke where it's like all the kids are on a boat and it's sinking, like, oh no, who'll save us? It's like Jack LaLanne comes like, don't worry kids, I'll save you, and just pulls the boat with his teeth. Which sounds like an exaggeration, but no, that's actually what he did.
Didn't Kennedy do that?
Kennedy did that, yeah, during the war.
Yeah. We did that in a video a while back.
Yeah, Jack LaLanne every year on his birthday, from his 40th birthday onwards, would do like some ridiculous feat of endurance or strength to show that he still had it. Like I think one year he did like 1,000 press-ups in 20 minutes. Like one year he like swam from Alcatraz to San Francisco underwater to show that it could be done while shackled, like the prisoners did back then. One year like he rowed a paddle boat while pulling another boat behind him. Like, he liked pulling boats for some reason. Like one year he swam underwater while pulling like a cruise liner, which had people on it who were filming him do it.
An hour and a half of breathless, non-stop weightlifting every day. Pull-ups, bench presses, over 300 abdominal exercises, 400 push-ups. Hurtling his 80-year-old frame around the pool and then swimming against a rope tied around his middle for hours, having much earlier left this mere mortal exhausted.
One time, like when he was just in his 60s, Arnold Schwarzenegger challenged him to a press-up competition while they were on a plane, because that's just the kind of shit Arnold Schwarzenegger did. And Arnold Schwarzenegger would later say, in regards to Jack LaLanne, the man's an animal. Keep in mind, this was Arnold Schwarzenegger when he was Mr. Universe.
I know that physics dictate that this would not happen, but two men that buff doing press-ups in a plane, that plane's going up and down, isn't it?
But yeah, like Jack LaLanne like kicked Arnold Schwarzenegger's ass in a press-up competition, and then to flex on him, what he did is he put both his arms on the seats opposite and then lifted his feet to the roof and touched it with his toes. Keep in mind, Jack LaLanne was 60 when this happened, and Arnold Schwarzenegger was Mr. Universe.
Poor Arnie.
Yeah. Well, not poor Arnie. Do you see like someone drop kicked Arnold Schwarzenegger like last year? And he thought he was a fan patting him on the back.
I mean, that says less about his strength and more about that terrible drop kick.
It does, yeah. Like, the thing is about why would you do that to Arnold, like the Terminator? Arnold Schwarzenegger, like, he's really well known now, but like it's hard to like overstate how ridiculous like his figure was back in the 80s. So obviously nowadays, like every like superhero action star is fucking jacked to all balls.
Yeah.
Arnold Schwarzenegger was so big, they couldn't get body doubles for him for Conan. The only body doubles they get were other people from his gym, so he had to do a lot of his own stunts, and that means that Arnold Schwarzenegger got a lot of permanent injuries because he didn't know how to ride a horse, but there was no one big enough to ride a horse for Conan standing for him.
So I had to end up doing a lot of the falls, a lot of the sword fights, a lot of the things on horses, the big battles on horses, all of this crashing together with horses, falling off the horse, all of this stuff I had to do myself. And luckily, I was young enough to sustain the punishment.
So it's like there's always like famous outtakes of like Arnold Schwarzenegger like falling off his horse. Oh, and my favourite one is being mauled by dogs. It was just this shot of Arnold Schwarzenegger being mauled by a dog because they couldn't get an extra or a double in to like physically replicate his frame.
How badly would it reflect on him if in his films, every time he went to do something like stunt-wise, he just got smaller?
Well, that's the thing, next. There was literally nobody else in the world who looked enough like him, physically, for him to have a stunt double.
We talked about Hemsworth's stunt double, didn't we?
Yeah.
How he has to try and keep up with... Because obviously people might not realise, but if you're going to be someone's stunt double, like if you get a regular gig as their stunt double, you've got to look just like them. So if that celebrity's like, well, I'm playing a superhero, I want to look jacked as fuck, that stuntman's now got to go, well, I've got to do exactly what he does, the same muscle routines, the same diet, just so I look just like them.
And just get paid less money.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like with Arnold Schwarzenegger, the only people he can find were other like bodybuilders from his gym. It's just so funny to me. Like, he was so big that he got attacked by dogs. And there's a lot of times as well where they just did stuff where they'd normally accompany it with special effects, but Arnie was so big they could just do it without. Like, there's a shot in Terminator 1 where the Terminator punches through a window, and Arnold was asking, like, is this a fake window? Like, no. Is that a problem? It's like, not really, no. So it's you have to get a fake window and planning permission. It's like, no, he's going to get a real car with a real window, and Arnie's big enough to punch right through it.
All right, rack your brain.
Okay.
Which actor, current day actor, would you least want to get in a fight with? Or at least would you pick a fight with?
Scott Adkins.
Who's Scott Adkins?
He's like the martial art. Like, if people out there going, yeah, Scott Adkins, like he's like a martial art. He's been in the MCU. He's been in Extraction. He was actually in John Wick 4.
Oh.
Have you seen John Wick 4 yet?
No.
Oh, the fat guy. There's a big fat guy in John Wick 4, and it's Scott Adkins in a fat suit. Well, yeah, it'd be him because he's a legit martial artist and he'd kick my fucking ass. I thought, like, one of the martial artists that's going around, like, Louis Tan or something like that.
I guess we'll put that to the comments as well.
Yeah, like,
which
actor would you least want to get, like, into a physical confrontation with?
It's like all the stories about Christopher Lee in his past.
Yeah.
Obviously not modern day Christopher Lee. That would be a bit.
Yeah, I reckon like 90-year-old Christopher Lee, I could probably push him over.
I was talking dead Christopher Lee.
Oh, right,
I imagine you could take him.
No, he's like the coffin lands on me or something. I don't know.
I mean, we know he's got history in his films of coming back from the dead.
Yeah.
So.
Oh man. Thing is though, if you were Christopher Lee, you'd have to be very dressed like Dracula, right? You'd have to be.
Yeah.
You'd have to be.
Do you reckon he's already got his own coffin?
Well, he's dead, isn't he?
Do you reckon he already had his own coffin?
I don't know, but it reminds me of a story about what's the original actor who played like Dracula all those years ago?
Lugosi?
Yeah, Bela Lugosi. It was possibly a critical story, a pothrical story told about him where he was getting measured for his coffin because he's going to die soon. You need to buy your coffin, so he's laying in it and he's like, he gets out and goes, "This is the most uncomfortable coffin I've ever been in," and they were like, "No one's ever said that," and he's like, "Yeah, but I've been in plenty of coffin. I know what a comfortable coffin feels like."
Too constrictive. I can't even fold my arms.
Gee, Mr. Lugosi, I've never had any complaints.
This is the most uncomfortable coffin I've ever been in. Your selection is quite shoddy. You're wasting my time.
But no, back to LaLanne.
Yes.
We often get comments in these videos of people saying, like, get to the point.
Yes.
And this is one of those videos where, as the person in it, I'm like, I want you to get to the point. What has a tiger got to do with anything?
Okay, well, Jack LaLanne, a lot of modern influencers today, when he got famous, sold the fuck out. As I said, he was like, for every roided out dude bro on Instagram, plug in crappy supplements and workout routines. Like, Jack LaLanne is their god. So he just lent his name to a bunch of products, including the Jack LaLanne Juice Tiger. Jack LaLanne was a firm believer in the power of juice, and that was one of his favourite sayings when advertising that.
Fruit juice.
Fruit juice, yes. And, again, an early pioneer in that regard. So, a lot of fruit juice, a lot of preservatives in there. He was one of the early proponents of make your own at home.
Jack, you drink a lot of juice, and I brought my juicer from home. And Jack, every morning, honest, I really do this. Every morning, I always have my fresh orange juice because I know it's good for you.
Mike, what are you doing?
I'm making juice.
This thing went out with the old horse and buggy days. You're getting a little exercise for your arms, and that's about it. Okay, that's so good. Take the juice out of these carrots, huh?
A bit of water, a bit of juice, all these different things, like have your supplements and all that good stuff.
Why is it a tiger?
Well, tiger, because it conveys power. It's a powerful creature, right? Do you want to be as strong as a tiger? Fuck yeah. Also, the juice made a lot of noise. So they'd advertise like, yeah, that's it's the power, it's the roar. You can hear that roar rather than it being like, it's whisper quiet.
Doctor, are you sure it's on? I can't hear a thing.
It's whisper quiet!
Because I'll never forget when a friend of ours had is it the Ninja?
Oh, the Ninja juice maker.
And it's so fucking loud. I went, the balls on a company to call their product the Ninja, which is actually loud as fuck, is amazing.
I don't know why. I guess because it's got the blades. Like, why would you call it Ninja?
Because it sounds cool. Same reason they call it the Juice Tiger. It sounds cool. Would you like some information about the Juice Tiger? The kind of shit he was packing under the hood?
Oh, go on then. Let's get this.
We had, Brad, in excess of 1 horsepower.
Oh!
And that doesn't sound like a lot, admittedly. But now think about how hard it'd be to cram a horse into a blender.
I don't think that's what horsepower means.
The thing is, though, I don't know what horsepower means. I've ever told this story of when I was a kid, I thought brake horsepower meant that's how many horses it was the equivalent of crashing into with your car. So when a car had 200 brake horsepower, I thought they'd put that's the equivalent of your car crashing into 200 horses at once. That's how fast it'd slow down.
That's a good point. What is it the amount a horse can pull?
It's roughly that, yeah. But the thing is, though, it's not really representative of the actual power of a horse because there's a statistic about stallions in the Grand National and they output at their peak 14 horsepower. So it's there'll be someone in the comments talking about it because here's a pro tip for anyone who wants to make content on YouTube. Here's 3 things you should never talk about unless you want a reply guide to correct you, and it is cars, guns, World War II.
Yeah, we've mentioned that. I mentioned that in one of the videos I recorded as well.
Yeah, don't mention cars, don't mention guns, And especially don't mix up or use interchangeably bullets, clips, and ammo. They really don't like that.
Oh, yeah.
Like, don't mix up clips, magazines, bullets, casings,
Yeah,
rounds.
it's clip and magazine, those two. I think I got correct on that at one point.
They get so mad about that. It's like, I'm really sorry I don't live in a country where you can just get a gun and shoot someone. Like, sucks out. Do you know what else you could be killed by in America as well? The juice tiger. Like, speaking of things that could randomly kill you without warning, the juice tiger.
It's nutrition.
Okay.
It's incredible. Then
It goes right through.
Then we have pineapple here.
Look at that. Right through.
You slice your pineapple, and you keep the outer skin on everything that's in there. The juice tiger
Wait a
will be
second.
able to scrap.
It's got the little pokey things.
That's what this is all terrific fiber, you know?
Oh, right through.
It's like, bro, when they had that entire horse under that hood, that's a lot of power to put into a little machine. And keep in mind, what's a blender got as its primary moving part?
A blade.
What does that blade do?
It spins?
It spins
I don't know why I'm like, as if it's some kind of quiz I'm going to get wrong.
No,
I know what a blender does.
It spins real fast. And what is normally inside of a blender, or at least a juicer, when you're, making stuff?
Oh, fruit.
Fruit, yeah. And what does fruit do when you blend it?
It goes gushy.
Yeah, so I was just going to keep doing that right now. The important thing is, though, like, no, the blender, no, it's span.
Why did they use the word gushy?
Pulpy. Pulpy. But like the important thing to note is that this juicer was sold on the fact it was so powerful it could juice almost anything. And that's true, because the things it could juice included itself.
A horse.
Well, you probably could put a horse in there. It's like, I don't like referencing Top Gear, because Jeremy Clarkson's a prick, but there is that great moment where they build the V8 blender and he puts a brick in there, and they blend a brick to make a blender. Like a drink or something like that.
For added bite, brick. It's actually a brick. Oh, it's broken, but there we are. I'll pop that in there.
Wow!
Look at that!
That just is the business.
Fantastic and delicious. Right, are we ready?
Will It Blend was massive on YouTube at
Yeah,
one
that was
point.
another one people probably, that's probably a better reference, like they blend like an iPad and stuff like that, didn't they? Well, yeah, like they sold it on the fact it could blend anything in your hands, so you make juice out of anything. And the things it could blend included itself, because very occasionally the juice tiger would just detonate due to the sheer amount of force it was kicking out while spinning, at which point the little plastic housing where you keep the juice would explode and send like plastic pulp covered shrapnel in every conceivable direction.
Great product.
It was a great. Well, at least
Sign me up.
At least you know it's powerful. And just be clear, this wasn't like a one-off thing. Like, I think one person lost their eye, and there were like 14 other injuries confirmed. And they had to recall, I think, about 10% of juice tigers in existence for this one flaw, which was that it was like programmed to be too powerful. Like, they tuned it to be too powerful. So the one thing that Jack LaLanne felt comfortable putting his own name to, the Jack LaLanne juice tiger, was so powerful it just exploded. Just with raw, like Broly. Just like the juice tiger's like Broly and he explodes out of his clothes or some shit. Like that.
I'm just imagine the meeting where they bring him a normal juicer and he tries it and he goes, "Can you overclock it? Can you set it higher? Can you take the limiters off?"
Basically, yeah, like the Super Saiyan juice tiger. And just like, yeah, just the idea that Jack LaLanne was so buff, even products bearing his name exploded due to sheer power. The amount of power they were outputting is more than the thing could handle.
Next up, the Jack LaLanne vibrator.
Thing is that I've ever said my favourite joke about a vibrator from a TV show. This is going somewhere. Like
this is really specific.
It is, but I just really like the joke, and it is. Have you ever seen the show 2 Pints of Lager and a Packet of Crisps?
Some episodes, yeah.
It's a great show. I recommend it. Unless, do you know what? I'm not going to say that because there's probably an episode where they're racist. Because like every show on the BBC that you recommend from over 10 years ago, there's probably a racist episode. It's like when you go watch like sitcoms in America, they always have a blackface episode. It's like, why did you put this in?
Yeah.
It's like, why did Tina Fey put 3 yellowface episodes into 30 Rock? What's going on there? But anyway, in the show, they have like the oversexed mom character. I'm saying mom for the Americans at home. Because like, the ones who aren't clicked away because I said like shit about guns, that's for them. Mom. And like, she just has a one-off line. She says, well, yeah, I gave up men. And to be honest, the vibro bear that my daughter bought me is not keeping me company, even on the grizzly setting. Just the idea of like the vibro bear. Which isn't a real product, but the fact obviously he would have the grizzly setting. That really cracked me up. He's not doing its job, even on the grizzly setting. It's our story about when I was in school. And on last day of school, a guy lost a bet where he had to wear a tiger thong that growled.
And nothing else?
No, he had to wear it under his outfit.
Okay.
And then as it ended, what he did, he took the clothes off and walked around in it. But we were sat in our final assembly. What kept happening is people kept punching him in the dick. Obviously, he's trying to stifle pain. We just hear, every now and again, you just hear like a scuffle between two people and just row. And just like throughout, obviously everyone knew that he was wearing it, so everyone was trying not to laugh. But just, every now and again, you just hear row. And we just lost it.
What if I could still get those?
The vibro bear.
I'll do some kind of competition with you on the side channel where if you lose, you got to wear the thong.
No, and just halfway through, someone punching me in the nuts, and you just say row. It was so good. But anyway. Speaking of like shit you can buy, why not go pre-order our Knowledge Demon, our Forbidden Knowledge Keeper t-shirt, inspired by the Knowledge Demon line we did a couple of years ago with Psycho.
I hear that if you poke it right in the eye, it goes rawr.
Rawr. Oh man, I wonder if Psycho have like the technology to make those t-shirts that have like the buttons in them. Do you like the Christmas sweaters that you press a button on and they glow?
Yeah.
And then you put them in the wash and just like, why did I do this?
I mean, you could buy the components. Like we did, I did product design in school, and I mean, it's not in my skill set, but I was taught it as a kid. So if you wanted to make one that had like a music box and made a noise, I imagine it would be doable.
Yeah, but the noise you'll make is just rawr, rawr. Or the noise that monsters make in
Nightmare Creatures.
Nightmare Creatures. Rawr, rawr. It's the best. It's so good. But yeah, you can get this, you can pre-order it now, the link you can find below. It's a D&D inspired design. When in keeping that theme, you can get a little bonus with it, which is a monster card for D&D, so you can put the monster into your own games. You can kick its ass.
Yes, guaranteed to have no spelling mistakes.
Yes, like shout out to that fan who says, there's a spelling mistake on this. Is that on purpose? Obviously not, people make mistakes, come on. You can put it
Is it on purpose?
You can put it into your game, and like, to any aspiring DMs out there, the noise it makes, canonically according to me, is rawr. That's the noise it has to make.
Imagine how much you'd be taken out of your campaign if the DM introduces this creature, like the beholder of books over the foot, like
the forbidden knowledge keeper enters the room. You hear the telltale sound, you disturb, like you're in the library. You disturb like a dusty old tome. You hear the noise that many adventurer hears before, death approaches. Cheers. Rawr. Now, now someone's got to do it. There'll be someone out there who's super committed to like realism and accuracy, and they'll have to make that noise.
The question is, does every single book go rare? Because then you've got like a chorus of rare.
No, because in my head, like the creature that's inside of it, that it's just a little monster. It's like rare, rare. Do you think anyone's gonna get like the tiger reference that I've been doing? Like tiger.
I'm not getting it.
Have you not seen Kung Pao Enter the Fist?
Ages. Is that the one with the cow?
Yeah.
The Matrix cow. Yeah,
the worst part of the entire
ages
film.
ago. Yeah, but that was the bit that was snapped out and put on YouTube and went viral as Matrix cow.
Yeah, it was just a bit like Grandmaster Betty, where you're just looking at like this old scroll and like tiger. And just now every time I say the word tiger, I just think tiger. Or rawr. It's the best noise. The Forbidden Knowledge Keeper, check it out. Put it into your D&D game. Let me know how it goes. Let me know how it goes, like, DMs out there. When you introduce the people that are fans of this channel or even know who we are, we're usually introducing to go, rawr.
I feel like there's going to be some committed DMs out there who are going to ignore that bit of advice.
No, someone's going to like clip that voice line out and put it like a macro on the PC for playing online. It's like, oh no, it approaches. Rawr.
It's going to the creature's attack phase.
Rawr. Do you know that bit in The Simpsons where like Mr. Burns is in like the radio show and they play the fart noises? It's just, and like Mr. Burns like has a heart attack. Don't worry, I still hear some faint signs of life. Cheers, Psycho, and cheers to the original artist who designed this After Death Comics. Rawr. Perfect.